Morning.
You don't need a mic.
I don't need a mic, but then, good morning.
Morning.
Are we ready for it?
Yes.
Thank you very much for coming. I'm happy and glad that we are able to initiate something which is different. We all do this in our normal walks of life. Probably we work in corporates, we work with corporates, we attend events, but as a community, I thought this was required. There's a huge void as a community where we could create a platform, and I saw that this was a need of an hour. Okay. I thank Sept to start up the program with Surah Fatiha. I thank Iqbal Bhai who did the opening speech. I'll not take too much of your time. I welcome you all to this program, and I'll request Abid Bhai to start up the program as we are running a little late. We will strike a balance during the day, during the course of the day, and we will straight away move to the program. I'll request Abdulla Thakur Bhai to come in and start off his lecture about the incubation stage for the startups.
Interesting platform and much more interesting audience. Why? We Kokanis have been somehow above or below the radar. We Muslims have been somehow above and below the radar. Why? We might figure out by the end of this day. How? We are all responsible. When? Probably after Harun Rashid finished his rule, we started the decline. You could argue, you could talk, you could debate as much as you want about the reasons. But the reasons that are old died with the people who are old. The issues that were old went with them to their graves. We don't have Zawahiri anymore. He's not going to write for you any books on medicine or teach you how to make surgery. The big fat book that he made that the Western world used for 500 years. We don't have it. Who do we have? We have us. So one of the things that we need to realize is that living in the past or setting expectations from others for ourselves is not what this ummah was. We went to war with Rome and there was no problem between us and Rome. Right? We expanded. We reached new horizons of science, technology, education. I don't know if some of you know that we were the first university in Egypt. We launched the first soap. Hygiene is supposed to be our Muslim culture, traditional, religious requirement. But we don't see anyone launch a soap. So you need to understand that if you have to be successful in anything, you should first work from your base, which is what you're good at. I was just giving a lecture in Pune at the IIT alumni, and I told them that the biggest problem India has is that we are too used to copying. We copy so many times that we forget what's original. And then we begin to believe that what we've copied is so original that it's actually better than the rest. So when the Prime Minister of this country opened this door called Make in India, which is a good move by the way, all the mobile handset manufacturers of India suffered. Why? We don't do design, we don't do microchips, we definitely don't do the screen. In fact, anything on that circuit board is not done in India, it's done in China. So while our tech giants have very large shareholdings in the Indian stock market, when Donald Trump decided to cancel the professional visit visa, what happened overnight? Tech Mahindra, Wipro, Infosys, Tata, everybody lost 4,000 crore rupees in one night. Whereas when Mark Zuckerberg came to India asking for something from the Indian government and the Indian government did not give it, he didn't lose a dollar. You see, when you're original, you don't have too much to lose. But when you duplicate and copy, you have everything to lose. So we've come out as a country. So it's not just us Muslims, it's everybody in it. But we Muslims, and in particular we Kokanis, we have something a little bit more peculiar. The state of Maharashtra has several regions, we are one of them. The Konkan region is one of them. I don't know if you're aware of it, the Konkan region is one of the biggest contributors of GDP for Maharashtra. It is one of the biggest between all the regions. I'm talking about the rural regions. We give away around 61 billion. We are, from 2004 till 2014, our Konkan region has grown. In fact, my district of Sindhudurg has grown by 250%. Where do we see that growth? It's pocketed to a few people. Why? Not because it is not available to others, it's because we don't want to change. We're so hard-headed, we don't want to change. We so much convince ourselves that my idea, my belief, my opinion is the right one. You see, until you move away from that, nothing is going to change. Umar bin Khattab radiallahu anhu was one of the biggest enemies of Islam. In fact, he went to kill, na'uzubillah, the Prophet ﷺ. And then Allah gave him hidayah and he accepted Islam. And what's the first thing he said once he accepted Islam? لَسْنَا عَلَى الْحَقِّ وَهُمْ عَلَى الْبَاطِلِ. Aren't we on the right and they on the wrong? Imagine a man who was enemy of Islam is now referring himself to us and them. You know when that happens? That only happens when your belief structure is complete. So when he entered the fold of Islam, he entered completely. So when you want to change, you have to change completely. You have to stop listening to yourselves. You have to stop listening to the same people over and over again. Stop sitting in the same settings over and over again. I come from this village, I come from that district. We are in 2018, tell me what progress we have done. We have individual successes, yes, definitely, mashallah, tabarak ar-Rahman. But what about the collective success? The collective success will come when we as people change. We need to change. India is going through a very big, massive change where economy is going to grow phenomenally. Now when that happens, are we prepared? Is our second generation prepared? No. Honestly, no. This is probably the first event that I have been called to speak to Konkanis about entrepreneurship. And I've been doing this for the last 3 or 4 years. And it's not like I'm hiding myself. So you need to understand that we have to get to a point where we give our next generation the opportunity to develop growth for our region. I was reading an interesting report that the government of Maharashtra released a research that told all farmers that stop growing mangoes, grow bamboos. Because the return on investment on bamboos is apparently 3.2 and mangoes is 2.3. How many of our Konkani farmers did that? Does anybody know of them? You know how expensive it is to keep a mango farm? And the depression you need to go through when rains don't come in? Bamboos don't need any of that. They are the most rugged crop you can grow. And they're giving you such high returns. So while the Konkan region has prospered, it is our counterparts from the Hindu side that are prospering. We have the same people for the last 10 something decades asking for zakat and sadaqah. Same people. In fact, you can just make a list and it actually gets carried on. My father passed it to me and I think I will be passing it to my son. How does that happen? Bill Gates said, right, if you were born poor, that's not your problem. If you die poor, that is your problem. We need to try the right things. We don't need to just try. So today is an attempt that we should consider. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to run you through the phases of how we can develop an acceleration program under the KCCI banner for entrepreneurs who are already entrepreneurs, they have a business plan or they have a business, or young entrepreneurs who wish to become entrepreneurs. That's huge opportunity. That's massive opportunity that's not touched. You know, I talked to a Kuwaiti famous entrepreneur who sold his business his food delivery business for 300 million. He's really famous. I asked him, I said, Muhammad, tell me, what does one need to think about when you want to launch new ideas? He said, it's very simple. Look around you, see what people have been doing for donkey's years, see if you can put it online. Simple as that. Simple as that. We have so many restaurants all along the highway, and we have young people here who are going to talk about it because one of them did. Okay? We have so many schools and madrasas. We have so many hostels. And yet, we are, we and the Konkan region, we actually touch Goa, right? So if I need to go to my village, I land in North Goa, close to Baga Beach, and I drive in 3 hours into my village. Goa is a tourist hub. Does anybody know of Konkan as a tourist hub? Has anybody heard of Konkan being projected as a tourist hub? No. We are trying, but it's such a futile effort that there is nothing cohesive, there's nothing complete. When you do solutions, you do it together. Oh, I will make a little 3-star hotel. Oh, I will do a little chalet kind of a thing. No, sit with your community, there'll be other people interested as well. Make your whole area part of something so everybody can benefit. So, today we'll try to explore how entrepreneurship works, because there are fundamentals of entrepreneurship. Anybody with a good idea should never get into entrepreneurship. Take my advice on that. Because there's good ideas and there's good ideas. You don't know which one works. So follow the fundamentals and then try to pursue entrepreneurship. Success does not come because you're excited. Success does not come because you think you have a good idea. Success does not come because you're committed. You said, I've resigned from my job and I'm committed. Success only comes when you follow business fundamentals. There's an in and there's an out. There's rent to be paid, there's salaries to be paid, there are suppliers to be taken care of, and guess what? You still have to keep the customer happy. So you need to understand these things before you get into business. So I'll teach you, or rather explain to you, some of those fundamentals. It's not a complete module because I don't have enough time for that, but I think in the next session we could probably do it with people who are just interested in this. So I decided to make my presentation a bit more appealing, so I put a fish in there. Very relative to the region. Now here's what we're going to do. We're going to create an accelerator program, and I've done this a few times over. So what the program is going to have is they're going to have angel investors on one side and entrepreneurs on the other side, because some of you are going to be investors, others are going to be entrepreneurs. And what we do is, as a program, we look at subject matter experts, people who are into finance, social media, legal, IT, get their skills and keep them on that little panel, and then look at how we can take the entrepreneurs, their business plans, and how we can match it with the expectations of investors. Because there are some very interesting projects, very, very interesting, and Gulzar has one of them, by the way. Okay. Why I'm pointing out to him is because what he is inshallah planning to do might actually put companies on the map. Okay? Because sometimes you need to do the big thing. You know what Ford did, right? Henry Ford. When he wanted to get into the automobile business, he said, I will produce mass, then I will get economies of scale. So sometimes you need to take a bigger decision to achieve the immediate goal. So inshallah, all the best to you, by the way. So how does the process work? So it's you as an entrepreneur, you need to get ready. How do you get ready? You need to have market research, you need to understand your competition, you need to analyze that yourself and somebody who knows analysis. Okay? Sometimes what happens is, we humans are such, subhanAllah. I have this saying, I say, if you look long and hard for something, you will find it, even if it's not there. We are blinded by our passion so much sometimes, that the fact just is not visible to us. We want to see something. You're convinced this is white, this is white, this is white, this is white. He comes to you and says, oh, white, it's actually red. No, you got it wrong. It's white. So you can't do that. You need to ask others to validate what you're doing. Okay, good entrepreneurs around the world do that. They go through a process of validation before idea confirmation, before go to market. So that's one of the areas. Then, like I said, you need to have mentors and stakeholders, and of course the investors, and then you go to marketplace. Now let me stop you at mentors and stakeholders. This is another problem in India, and not just me, a lot of the people in the market are saying it. Mentors have actually become a commodity. There's so many of them. I remember one person telling me, while I was playing football with him, he said, you know, you didn't come to that session. I said, what session? He said, well, about student counseling, career counseling. I said, I wasn't invited and I wasn't there in the country. He said, no, you should have come because it was pretty bad. I said, why was it bad? He said they were talking about the same thing. You should be an engineer, you should be a doctor, you should pursue computer science. Now, come on. A young person is coming to you for advice. What does advice mean? First is to understand who that young person is. Second is to understand what economy is. Gone are the days where you can easily put people into brackets and say, you're a doctor. In fact, my own cousin, this is funny, Dr. Ijaz, him and I, we were doing, I was doing the lecture, and after the lecture, a parent came to me and said, Mr. Thakur, I want my son to be a doctor. And even before I could say anything, Ijaz goes like, no, 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 please, no. And I was wondering, what's wrong with Ijaz? He's saying, you don't like your daughter? I said, no, I love my daughter. Okay, fine, if you love your daughter, don't put her through torture of 5 years, then another 3 years, and then look for money to set up the clinic. So the point he was trying to make is there are other options. There are other options. Entrepreneurs make a lot more money than doctors do, even if they're the super specialists. So, you know, when you give career advice to students, or any advice, be responsible. If you're not good for it, say, I can't. I was sitting on a panel with Anil Deshpande, owner of 6,000 crore rupees company, and when one of the audience said, sir, I'd like you to be my mentor, he said, I can't. 6,000 crore rupees company. Say, I can't. What we see normally is, the minute somebody gets a chance to be called a mentor, bang, I'm a mentor. It's a responsible thing, please. The Prophet ﷺ never even gave the act of doing da'wah to people who he thought that couldn't do da'wah. He never had some of the Sahaba who were very close to him appointed as emirs because he said they couldn't be emirs. So you need to realize that being a mentor is an act of responsibility. Don't take it lightly. You might be destroying somebody's career. So for the investors, it's the same thing. We help you analyze the investment opportunities. We help you identify either entrepreneurs within the community or outside the community. And then we see how the investment can be placed, which is we help you negotiate the deal. So entrepreneur says, I'm looking for 10 lakh rupees for 10% of the company. We will help negotiate between the entrepreneur and the investors to say, no, the value for money will come if you give 15% at 10 lakh, and so on and so forth. And then we help you also manage your investment portfolio, which is, we would inshallah tell you what is a good time to exit, where you can exit, because one of the things you need to understand about startup investments, it's all about exits. And exits is all about someone willing to buy your company, or you need to do the easy thing. You know what's the easy thing? Actually make profits. Then nobody needs to buy your company, you're running by yourself. That's why when you launch a new business idea, you need to think about making money soon rather than raising funds forever. So this is how it's going to work, alright? So today, part of this, most of this and part of this is what I'm going to talk about. I'm going to talk about inspiring creativity, understanding entrepreneurship, then later we can go with your startup idea, ideas to business journey, investor pitch, seed funding, and go to market. Why have I done this? Because they're all different things. Like I said in the beginning, there are some people who should not be entrepreneurs. They should not be entrepreneurs. They think they have a good idea, they think they have a great idea. By now I have a good knack of thinking, whether this is a good thing for you or you're wasting your time. And I'll tell you why later. So this is the first thing. How can I inspire creativity in you? Without creativity, you cannot be an entrepreneur. If you're one of those who's, I'm a shy person, you know, I can't talk in public, no, nobody's going to give you money. You're not going to sell anything. Who are you kidding? If you don't have an outgoing personality, please don't get into entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship is about being brash and in your face. Because investors are going to demand results. And if you don't give them the results, and if you give them a coy little crouched figure, you're not going to get anywhere. So it's better you take real estate, invest in it, or you just look for a job. Everybody cannot be an entrepreneur. Why? This is a question I get asked almost every time. The average rate of failure in startups is 85% globally. In India, it's more than 90%. More than 90%. Why it's more in India? Because we copy. We don't do original things. There's no innovation. We only have innovation workshops. We don't actually apply it. So inshallah, when we end up setting up this little incubator accelerator program, this is how it's going to look. And whoever goes through it may inshallah end up with a full pitch deck, with slides, with a business plan, with the ability to speak in front of investors, and an introduction to Kokni investors and other investors who can actually help you develop. This process is very, very important, because if you look at from here to here, your startup idea to business, your idea should always be a business one day, right? That's the whole idea, right? Your idea should be a business. Sometimes your idea is so far-fetched, it can't be a business. It can't. And sometimes your idea needs to be fixed for it to be a business. And sometimes you're the wrong guy for the right idea. So one of the biggest problems why failures are so dominant in India is when a founder launches his business, he decides also to be the CEO. And he doesn't have the skills. A chief executive officer has skills. Founders may not necessarily have. So the best thing to do is what the Western developed countries do. You may be founder of the business, but you're not fit for running the business. Hire someone to run the business. Okay? So that's one of the things that we discuss when we go through the accelerator program. So it's 4 steps that should, inshallah, if everybody goes through it, change your life. This is a little boring thing about me, and the reason why you need to know about that is, there's an old saying, if you want to take somebody seriously, know him. Right? If somebody entered Rome and said hello to you, you will meet him as another Roman. But when somebody enters, you enter Rome and you meet someone and he said, hello, I'm Julius Caesar. What happens? You go like, ah, Julius Caesar. Right? So sometimes track records and experience are important for you to realize that the content that's coming to you is coming from reliable source. Okay, so my current job, I'm CEO and co-founder of Dhow Capital, which is a company owned by a family business in Kuwait called Sept. We launched our fund in 2017. And we've already invested in 12 opportunities in UK and America. Primarily as I head the business, I do most of the deals. All right? Our fund has already grown twice in less than 2 years. Okay? So I am telling you and discussing things with you out of experience. Okay? I work with the Royal Imperial College. I work with Oxford. I work with the University of Darmstadt in Germany. I am in touch with Stanford as well. And I have deals that I'm working with. I am in distant discussions with professors to develop cutting-edge technology in the renewable space, etc. Right? So, besides that, I used to head British Telecom in Middle East. It's a Forbes top 20, top 50 company. I was head of business development and strategy. I took a business of around £4 million and I left them after 8 years with around £180 million. I launched managed services, I launched consulting, I launched government-to-government MOUs. Besides that. So what matters to you is currently what I'm doing. So that's my venture capital startup CV. right at the bottom was, I used to advise the Japanese government for their strategy of investment in Kuwait. I was part of the advisory board of Delta. Delta was launched by the Diamond Cluster Boys of New York, which is the world's largest telco advisor, the world's largest. We did 4 deals. First was, we bought a nationwide Wi-Fi license with Virgin Mobile. Then we took the tower company of Orascom in Egypt. Then we bought a content management company in Tunis. And then we had another dark fiber company that we bought in Armenia. Our concept was not to invest, but to manage the investment for 6 months, then hand it over. So luckily, alhamdulillah, I got an opportunity to work with some of the biggest names in that business and learn from them a little bit more. Those are all the companies that our fund and myself I have invested. I've invested myself in 5 of those companies. Right at the top of it is What 3 Words. What 3 Words by far is the only competitor to Google Maps today. Only competitor. What they did is a very simple idea, and that's why I tell you that sometimes good ideas come from simplicity and a lot of market understanding. They divided planet Earth into 57 trillion boxes of 3 by 3 meters. An algorithm with the Oxford English Dictionary that pulls random 3 words and gives it to each one of these boxes. So where I and he are standing, the 3 by 3 meters may be called house, cat, dog. So anybody who wants to come to see us will come right here. Try Google Maps, they will go there. See those trees? There. This became so popular so that now we have Intel Capital investing in it. We have Horizon Ventures, the Hong Kong billionaire who first invested in Facebook, investing in it. We have Aramex investing in it. And alhamdulillah, 3 months ago, Mercedes invested in it. So alhamdulillah, I had the opportunity of also being a board member there. So I have Mercedes on my right, Intel on my left, Aramex opposite me, and now, this month, Sony Music as well. Alright? So when I'm giving you certain suggestions and explaining things to you about entrepreneurship and startups, this is what I do for a living. This is not my side job. I'm not giving you mentorship. This is what I do. Okay? I'll not go through the rest of the investment. So you can't be an entrepreneur if you can't think like one. So one needs to be very cautious and careful about that. If you can't think like entrepreneurs, don't be one. Every entrepreneur has a muscle. And the muscle is knowledge, environment, attitude, culture, and resources. These are the muscles that you need. Knowledge, environment, attitude, resources, culture. And I'll tell you a little bit about each one of them. The first thing is imagination, right? Imagination is the beginning of everything. If you can't imagine something, you can't do it. So entrepreneurs need to be creative. So if I asked you a question, all right? If I said, what is 5 plus 5? What's your answer? What is 5 plus 5? 10, right? So if I ask this question in Australia, it will be what? 5 plus 5 is? In China, okay, in Japan, everywhere it's 10, right? That means you're not creative. Why were you not creative? Because you asked the wrong question. The question for you to inspire creativity is, what is dash plus dash equals 10? If I asked you that, what would you say?
7 plus 3 or something.
Yeah, 7 plus 3, you could be 6 plus 4, you could be 9 plus 1, you could be 8 plus 2, you could be 5 plus 5, right? The idea is to understand how to ask the right questions. The problem begins when you start a business idea looking for an answer. So I'll give you the classic story that I give everyone. You know what happened to Isaac Newton when he was sitting under an apple tree, right? An apple fell and he discovered gravity. Right? We all heard that, whether it's true or not, we all heard that. The question is, we're from the Konkan region. I'm from the Konkan region. Most of us are mango farmers, right? So I'm very, very upset with my great-grandfather. Very upset. I'm sure he was sitting under a tree and a mango fell. Why didn't he discover gravity? And you all should be upset with your great-grandfather. Why did they discover gravity? Because the art of discovery comes from the art of asking the right questions. He asked 2 right questions. Why did it fall? Why did it go the opposite way? If you want to be a good entrepreneur, that's what imagination is. Imagination. You need to expand your horizons to questions and more questions. Okay? That's the idea and art of creativity. So you could do simple things like, somebody has an old jeans, you just cut it off and you stitch it up and make it into a bag. So what I'm trying to say is you basically connect and combine. Anything that happens, you take the incident and you combine it with the solution. So every rains in Mumbai, there's a water clog, right? And what do we all do? Complain, whine, or just go into depression. Have you seen anybody happy those days? Huh? Anybody happy saying, oh God, I got stuck in traffic. Oh wow, the water was still here. There's no smiling about it, right? Guess what? We're going to have a very big problem coming ahead, which is water scarcity. Now, if some of us were smart and engineers, what would we be doing? We would be thinking about all the rainwater that gets collected, how to collect it, store it, treat it, and sell it. Right? So a problem, combining it with a good idea, technology. There's enough technology out there. You can just take the technology and make it. You just put a solution in there. And all of a sudden, you're selling water to the government. Most of the Konkan region is where? Is it in the mountain? Is it in a desert? Or is it close to the sea? Is it close to the sea? Yes. Alright. 18 years from now, the Konkan region is going to have water problems. Not just India. Okay, how many of us have thought about putting up a desalination plant? No one, right? We're waiting for a problem. Once the problem happens, then we start running here and there. And then we blame government, huh? Then we go blame government. As if Allah has, released us in this world with nothing. All our hands and legs are tired, we just hop and skip. We have to begin to understand situations and create solutions that can become your entrepreneurial ideas. Some of the best ideas have come from common sense thinking. What is Uber? Can somebody tell me if Uber is even technology? There's no technology in Uber. Is there a technology in Uber? It's common sense. He basically said people would like to have money and travelers would like to have more options. You put the two together, Uber is launched. What's Airbnb? Technology? No. So we have, in India, in the Konkan region, enough opportunity to create new things with a lot of common sense. But that common sense needs to come. It needs to happen. Alright? So what is the first thing an entrepreneur needs? Lots of knowledge. Lots and lots of knowledge. Where do you get it? You get it from reading market reports, of course some internet, lots of books, and then meeting the right people. How many of you are used to reading market research reports? Please raise your hands. Okay. How often do you read it? Every month? Is it every month? Okay, we have one person who at least reads it every month. Okay. Markets are changing so fast, it would be advisable for you to read it every month. You need to know where the economy is going, because every time it shifts, there are reasons why it shifts. You need to understand that. While the whole country is complaining about the fuel prices going high, what should we in Konkan should have done? Because we are a pretty small region, right? We are like 30,000 square kilometers roughly, right? What we should have done, we should have said, okay, we will launch the first electric car transportation, public transportation system. This is the right opportunity. When people are depressed about 90 rupees a liter, get on with it. There's technology there. Nobody's asking you to make an electric car. You just need to come up with a concept. There are manufacturers for the shell, there are manufacturers for the battery, both in India and outside. Just put them together, come up with a concept. But no, you want to do the other thing. What's the other thing? It's like, where's Majid? Oh yeah, there it is. I was just telling him. In my last lecture, I also said to people that I'm amazed in India that when Starbucks became famous, they decided to launch barista and the other one cafe.
Cafe coffee.
Yeah, okay, that one. Yeah, and They launched it and they became fairly large. And it took a man from Dubai with amazing genius to come in and give India something new. You know what he gave you? Tea. Chai. He launched for you a new product, mashallah, chai. And the people are like, wow, Phillies is very good. It's like, yeah, you know, you've been having it outside train stations, outside your street, in your house, in your uncle's place, in your grandfather's place. How come nobody thought about it? So this is the other thing. When you launch businesses, first think, what can you modernize what currently exists in the old? And I'll explain that a little later. So everybody please clap for Phillies because it's a brilliant concept. So knowledge. Knowledge is very important. If you follow reports, you will know exactly what you need to do, inshallah. Attitude. This one we suffer from pretty bad. You see, when you enter a room with a preconceived mind, there's very little that anybody can do for you. Right? So even, unfortunately, when people have religious debates, they have preconceived minds. Okay? So at the end what happens is there is no debate, there's just an argument, and people go away as strangers and not as brothers. You always need to be brothers. You always need to work as a family. That's what the religion is all about, right? It's about being together. It's about being responsible about one another. We can't be responsible about one another if we keep emphasizing our opinions so many times. So the number one attitude is an attitude of openness. That I'm willing to listen, and if that listening is correct, I'm willing to take it. Alright? Number two attitude is, you should be brave. When you're getting into entrepreneurship, please have a heart. If you don't have a heart, go to your cardiologist. Please. And there's an old saying that I follow very well. If you want to teach somebody courage, show him fear. If you want to teach somebody courage, show him fear. Tell him that this will fail. Most likely this might fail. If he still believes he can do it, then he will gather the heart that he needs to. So the attitude is very important. You need to be positive. You need to be open. You need to be courageous. Entrepreneurs have always that as an attitude with them. Environment, right? Now most people think exactly what I've written over there. No, environment is what you want it to be. If you have decided that your environment on a Saturday is hanging out with friends and investing 5 hours of your time between talk that has no relevance, no impact, no nothing, zero value, as the most important thing in your life every weekend, good luck for you. The entrepreneurs that I meet in the West, I have rarely seen them enjoy a weekend, rarely. And also I have rarely seen them complain about the fact that they haven't got results. Okay, they haven't succeeded, they haven't raised money yet. We're used to complaining, and we're also used to superimposing our emotions to people. Like if I want to go to Hassan Bhai and ask for his investment funds, and if he happens to say no, then I will say, Hassan Bhai, all night I didn't attend my brother's wedding. My neighbor's cat died, I didn't go for the funeral. Okay? We believe that emotions are more important than the subject itself. If you want to be an entrepreneur, please, first be professional. If somebody refuses you, that's his prerogative. It's his right. If you can't convince somebody enough, don't accuse him or hold him hostage by giving him emotional dramas and all of that. It doesn't work. So the environment comes when you hang around the right people, people who can inspire you, who can give you courage, who can motivate you. Don't hang around people who can give you zero knowledge. Oh, he's my friend, we grew up together. Well, good for you. Is this helping your business plan? Hang around somebody who knows how to make a business plan. Take part of his time. Because if you're interested in entrepreneurship, please not be interested in your personal life. Seriously, I'm telling you now. If If you're interested in entrepreneurship, it's not a part-time thing. It's a full-time thing. So which is the best resource that you need to be successful? Alright? Is it the funding? Is it the mentors? Is it the environment? Is it the infrastructure? What is it? What is the best one? No? You're the best resource, of course. You're the best resource. If you are not good enough to be the resource, there's no reason for this business to succeed. The business has no chance if you don't have an outward personality, you don't have the skills, you don't have the capability, nobody trusts you, nobody believes in you. You're, like I said, the shy guy who wants to have this great idea to compete with Steve Jobs. No. You need to have that one big resource, which is you. This is important, all right? This is something that I personally follow, and I always advise students and entrepreneurs and people aspiring to be entrepreneurs to follow. Culture. Scientists, when they do research, do you know that most of the time they fail? Most of the time when they're doing research, they fail. All the failure, they call it data. They don't stop, oh my God, I failed in this, now what? No. They are equipped in their heads to believe every failure is data. So I know now what not to do, what not to do, what not to do. They have tons of what not to do over there. Normal people are opposite. The minute they fail, there's a month of depression, another month of super depression, then a month of imposition on others of their depression. So you need to basically realize failure is nothing but data, move on. It didn't work, move on. That didn't work, move on. That's why your initial research is so important that you don't reach so many failure points. Then, think beyond and a bit further, because as an entrepreneur, you need to keep thinking. Remember, imagination is the seed of entrepreneurship. Keep thinking every time, keep thinking, don't stop. You know, most of you don't realize there's a lot of things happening in the big fat world. And it's all on Google. So if you have an idea of, let's say, a food delivery concept, Google what's happening in England, what's happening in China, what's happening in Venezuela, what's happening in Malaysia, what's happening in Hong Kong. It's your business, do it. Why are you assuming that what you're doing is perfect? Look at other experiences. So think far and beyond. Success means I need to repeat it, because if you just do it once, it's no good. You need to keep repeating it, because it has to be something that you're in control of. See, hear, understand, and create. Talk to people. Talk to your peers. Talk to people who have experience. I always say this, there's no substitute to wisdom. Intelligence, you can get it from every shelf. There's no substitute for wisdom. So talk to people who have wisdom, because they can share that wisdom with you, which may help you be a better person and a better entrepreneur. Beat an idea long and hard so that it still looks great. Don't wait for me or him to criticize you. You criticize yourself first. Make sure that you beat the idea so long that it does still look good. I only compete with myself, right? So this is very important. I only compete with myself. So every time I finish a lecture, or a student or someone from the audience comes and says, "Sir, can you tell me, who do you aspire to be?" So I tell them, you know, all my life I only aspire to be like one person. Only like one person. And they ask me who, I say me. Why? Because Allah made me unique. How? Subhanallah, He made you unique as well. You know what this is? It's a fingertip. What's on top of it? The fingerprint. Right? Does your mother match this? Does your father match it? Your son? Your daughter? No one, right? SubhanAllah, Allah made you unique, and you're busy copying others. You're busy trying to aspire to be like others. Even when you go to your grave, you will go as an individual. You will not answer for anyone but yourselves. Individuality is a core of your religion. You have to be centered around that idea. So you need to believe in yourself. And to believe in yourself, you need to build in yourself certain building blocks that are important for you to have a complete personality chart. And one of the finest one that also I follow, if you can't believe that your tomorrow starts today, you're in trouble. You're in trouble. You know why? There are others whose tomorrow started last week. That's why you're in trouble. This is the typical DNA of a startup. Your idea has to be logical. It has to fit a market gap. It needs to be friendly enough for people to engage. You should set the right price, and it should be easily available. This is the idea DNA of any startup idea. Just has to happen. So let's go with the creative thinking process, what it is. People who are employees want to either own a business or invest and become an entrepreneur. How can I think like an entrepreneur? Etc., etc. If you're creative, you can be an entrepreneur, inshallah. So look at this, right? Does everybody recognize this? What's that? It's a lock, right? How long has it been with us? Ages. So when Aurangzeb came to the first room, it had a lock? Yes. When Alexander the Great came to his first room, it had a lock? Yes. So a lock has been there for donkey's years. So what did change? Someone decided to apply technology to it, to say that when Zahir Saab wants to go to his house, and he's not there, sorry, his driver wants to go, he will send him a code and say, use the code and you will access my house. Okay, he doesn't need to come, take my key, this and that and all of that, right? What happened? A situation that existed for a very long time that nobody decided to change. One person decided to change it. So he said lock, but in a different way. Okay? So see how it worked? A lock that was with you for centuries got changed by one movement, one decision. Alright? Perception. For some, that's an apple. For others, it's Steve Jobs. Right? For some, it could be something else. Now, how you perceive something depends on the purpose of your perception. So when you start to create an idea, work on your perception while you think about other people's perception. Because it's the customers that need to perceive your business in a particular way. So don't leave it out there as it, they'll figure it out. No, nobody will figure it out. You need to make sure your brand ethos and your brand substance is clear for everybody to understand. So perception is important. Force change. Sometimes we don't change. So if Intikhab is working for HSBC, very good job. I tell him, Intikhab, there's another job in another bank. No, it's okay. I'm fine. I'm fine. Intikhab, it's better. No, it's fine. I'm okay. Most people are like this, right? 2 weeks later, Intikhab gets fired. Now he's looking for me. He's calling me. Come on, man. Answer the phone. Which is the other job you were asked? It's gone. So sometimes when you are in a good case scenario, develop new things. Because when the bad case scenario happens, you may not have the resources. This is for the investors. Now you have funds, start using them into investments. Because later, when markets crash, corrections happen, etc., etc., you may not have options. And if your source of income shuts down, what do? That's why this platform is very special. That is why KCCI Accelerator Entrepreneur Program is very important. That we may have Konkani entrepreneurs or businesses that you investors need to take very seriously. Because it may be an opportunity for you that they are giving you. Later, when they become successful, if you want to enter, every rupee will look like 1,000 rupees. Trust me on that. So force changes are usually sometimes, unfortunately, pushed down on us. The second right answer, we talked about this, right? So what do you need to do to be an entrepreneur? Be a hard thinker or a soft thinker? A hard thinker is logical, consistent, hardworking, and exact. Soft thinker believes in metaphors, ambiguous, plays, and hunch. Sometimes we Koreans are very much in that. Okay, we're so soft in our thinking. Okay, so when can we discuss it? Dekhenge na. So what about negotiating? Jamaica ba? Okay, so I'm closing my round. Acha, very good, mashallah, very good. Sir, but I need to still know whether you are committed to it. मैंने CA को दिया हुआ है, and he's looking into it. So we're very soft. Even our entrepreneurs, very soft. Very, very soft. Now, the idea is that as an entrepreneur, do you be a soft thinker, which is about similarities, or hard thinker, which is about differences? So, what do you think as an entrepreneur? What should I be? Should I be a hard thinker, or should I be a soft thinker? What do you think? Hard thinker? Okay. Who thinks hard thinker? Please raise your hands. Soft thinker? Okay. Well, actually, it's both. When you're creating the idea, you need to be very soft. You can't be rigid because it's an idea, right? So you need to think about so many options, until you earmark, this is what I want to work with. The minute you decided your idea, be very hard. Don't mess around. No soft thinking after that. Your financial plan should be correct and accurate. Your numbers should not be incremental. This is one thing I personally feel is my idea. When I look at his business plan, first quarter, let's say X. Second quarter, 10% increase. Third quarter, another 10%. How? No sir, ho jayega. Inshallah ho jayega, If you, me, sit in the masjid and we invite 50 other people to pray nifls for us and say, Ya Allah, give us 10% incremental growth. Come on. We have to, plans are made on demographic numbers. If he and I launch a plan to launch a restaurant in Andheri, we should know how many people live in Andheri. We should know the breakdown of the age groups. We can't assume things, right? So you entrepreneurs, whoever are entrepreneurs or aspiring entrepreneurs, please make sure your data is correct. Don't work on Excel sheets. It's very easy to do. A secretary can do an Excel sheet. You're entrepreneurs. It's a responsible job. Because of you, we could get 5 new jobs in your new company. And because of you, those 5 new jobs will be lost. Because you didn't take care of details. So you need to be a little careful after you launch the idea. The soft thinking is over. Be very hard. We've been taught all our life to follow rules. As an entrepreneur, you can never follow rules. If you follow rules, you will be in trouble. The imagination factor needs to continue. Always keep thinking, what can I do to keep this supplier happy? How can I get a new supplier? How can I change my brand? How can I make my brand more visible? Okay, there have been a few Konkani businesses that were shown to me in the recent past, launched and failed. For a simple thing, nobody did research. It's a great idea, it will work. For example, we'll produce this water. What's the logic behind producing the water? Everybody consumes it. This is the logic. Of course everybody consumes it. No sir, if I give it to anyone, they'll buy it. Why? He has 3 other options, he has 7 other options, he has 10 other options. Why should they buy it? So then they will give you the answer why. Because ours is cheap. This is the biggest marketing message. Ours is cheap. The day you launch a business called ours is cheap, please don't. Because that cheap business will be out of business very soon. You're supposed to take his money, my money and his money as investors to make money, not to give it away. We have enough charity organizations in the Konkan region to do that. MashaAllah, they're doing a brilliant job. You don't need to add any more sadaqah to that. Let's focus on the other sunnah, tijara, which is related to ribh, profits. So whenever you come up with ideas, try to be someone who doesn't follow typical rules. And this whole concept of cheap or discounted doesn't even stand anywhere. It doesn't hold ground. Does everybody know what this is?
Keyboard.
Right? It's right here on my keyboard, right? You know why I'm showing you this? It's ironic. The man who made this was the man who made the typewriter. And he did that because he realized that when he put A, B, C, D together, the guy would type fast and the keys, the hands of the typewriter would get stuck. He said it was a big problem. So he said, let me spread them in such an odd way that they won't get stuck. Good idea, right? Very good idea. Does anybody use the typical typewriter anymore? No, right? But I still see the same format here on my keyboard. Why?
People are used to it.
We're used to things for no apparent reason. He made it because there was a problem. So imagine one of you comes up with the idea, or the brilliant students in your Sabu Siddiq, mashallah, some of the best, brightest kids in that institution, mashallah. If they come up with an idea where they take the keyboard and they define and design a new one, which says, if you press this key once, it's A, twice it's B, and 3 times it's C. So the number of keys will reduce, the space required would reduce, and the shape of this whole PC would change, right? Wouldn't that be a new thing? Wouldn't that be like the lock and the lock? So there are many things around the world that we have that haven't changed. They're just the same. So there's a very old man in Europe in 1876 called Alexander Graham Bell who discovered and launched the telephone. See how many years it took for us to launch a mobile. Why do we wait so long? Why did none of you think about, let me launch a chai chain? Why? Why was it them? Why did they come up with this eureka moment when the founder of Philips was sitting in Dubai and he had this eureka moment dream? He came up and he says, I'm going to change India. I'm going to give them something new. Chai. There is so much chai around you, you just need to figure what you need to do. So that keyboard is an example for you. There are many other examples. Your windows, your doors, the AC ducts, panels. You know, people are talking about solar panels. There's a lot to do with that. Some stuff will be ideas, other stuff will be design, some will be technology. India suffers in economy because we are not into design. We need to be into design. You see, you all know Flipkart, right? Which got bought by Walmart, of course. And you all know Amazon, right? Are they both alike? Are they both e-commerce companies? Okay, but they're not. Flipkart is an e-commerce company. Amazon is not. Amazon is a proper technology company. Amazon gets 22 billion by just selling data center services. They store your data. Flipkart doesn't do that. So even your perception of understanding business is not purely correct. Okay, don't be like the Nokia CEO who went early this year in a press conference. He started to cry. He said, I don't know what we did wrong, but we lost. Well, buddy, I know what you did wrong. While Apple was being made right in front of your face, you decided to keep sticking to your feature phone. And Apple took the market. Don't be like the Nokia CEO. See the change. See the change. Our Konkan region has a lot to change. All you need to do is spend 1 hour a week thinking, what can I change? Then discuss it with 5 friends. Does this change, is it required? If they all agree, what can we do to bring the change? Then ask people, go to your peers, who are some of them, mashallah, sitting here. Tell them, do you think this change is a good change? Allah says it in the Quran, عَسَى أَن تَكْرَهُ شَيْئًا وَهُوَ خَيْرٌ لَكُمْ وَعَسَى أَن تُحِبُّوا شَيْئًا وَهُوَ شَرٌّ لَكُمْ وَاللَّهُ أَعْلَمُ وَأَنْتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. Allah ends it by saying, وَأَنْتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. You do not know. And then in another verse, Allah talks with Adam a.s. telling the angels that I give ilm. So Allah has given you ilm. Allah has taught you everything. Everything. You just need to figure by using your Akal Salim that Allah has referred to. So it's very important that you develop ideas, not trying to compete with another idea, another Groofer, another Zomato, another this, another. Try to first see what in our region needs change, what can be changed, and how can you change it. After that comes the part of business, which is there a price for the service? Is there a customer to give you that price for the service? I always tell entrepreneurs, don't come to me with $1 million idea, come to me with $1 idea. And then tell me that you have 1 million customers who are willing to pay that $1. Alhamdulillah, you're a millionaire, right? Simple as that. So don't come and complicate your brain with big fat ideas, because unless they're really good, don't waste everybody's time. So again, that was the logical, the DNA of a startup. Generally, we get 1,000 ideas, 10 of them can go to the market, and maybe one becomes a successful realized opportunity. This is standard. Okay? So be cautious of this, because this is very real. Again, to remind you, whoever wants to consider entrepreneurship should know the perils of entrepreneurship. Globally, 85% failure. In India, more than 90%. So you should be aware of that. Alright? Whenever you come up with an idea, test your hypothesis, validate your idea, go to 3 customers. So let's say he and I come up with an idea to make biscuits. Okay, we want to launch a new bakery. So first thing we do is we agree on the recipe, and we both agree that the taste is nice. But that's not good reason to go to the market. So we go to him, 10, 20, 50. You like this? You like this? Good. Everybody said it's good. The minute they said it's good, what do you do next? We agree on cost was 2 rupees. Let's sell it at 8. Why? Because we have marketing, we have distribution, we have logistics, blah, blah, blah. So he said, no, let's go with 12. Why? Because there's wholesale commission as well. And say, yeah, that makes sense. And we go to you. Say, will you buy these biscuits at 12 rupees? Will you buy it? Now there'll be change of opinion. Some will say yes, some will say no. If a majority say yes, that means you're okay. You're okay. But don't go to market without testing what you're trying to do. Most failures happen because they were never tested. You just imagine that I'm David Copperfield, I'm going to do a magic show and everybody's going to applaud. No, you're not David Copperfield. You're not going to hire a tiger, an elephant, or even the Taj Mahal. It's a business, it needs to work. Okay? So basically the whole idea is to have an idea, to get the right team, to pilot your idea, validate the idea, see where your revenues are going to come from, then you talk to investors. Don't talk to investors before you do all of this. This is very important. Most people just come up with a nice slideshow, a little Excel, and then they start talking to it. You can't do that. You have to do your homework. Unless you finish your homework, there is nothing to discuss with an investor, because the investor will ask you all of these questions. Funding options. Your first option is your own money. Then people like your friends, your family, and crowdfunding. There's enough crowdfunding platforms now available in India and around the world, Kickstarter being one of the biggest. Everybody is ready to fund you if you make sense. Number one. Number two, if you want my money, and his money, and we are strangers to you, right? First show us that you and your family are willing to put your money there as well. If they don't trust you, if you don't trust in yourself, like the Americans say, put your money where your mouth is, then why should an investor give you money? Alright, so this is very important. Plus, this is the stage where you're incubating the idea and taking it to some level of pilot, okay, or customer traction. Second is, you should always rely on your own revenues. So if you made a business plan, show me as an investor that my funding, part of my funding is coming from my own revenues. So I become more positive that you have sound business ideas where you're trusting your own revenues to run the business. Most startup entrepreneurs come and they want money now, they want money after 6 months, and they want money after another 6 months, and that generally fail. So profits is very important. There's a lot of government grants that is happening. This is the other thing we Kokanis need to be aware of. There's a lot of grants for startups. And Maharashtra is promoting startups in a very big way. I was in an event with Suresh Prabhu and he was talking about it and he was very excited about it. We need to take all advantages we can, because at the end of the day, when I meet an entrepreneur in UK, he normally comes and tells me, I've got grant from the London Metropolis City, I've got grant from Imperial College. Try to find out where people can validate and trust you, so that when you go to an investor, there's a lot more confidence. Okay, when you reach an investor, go with a lot of beef. Not technically beef, as in more material. you have VCs, you have angel investors, and finally you would have institutional investors as well if you're very good. So people talk about, I need my chance, I need my one chance. If I get lucky, that one luck thing, guess what? If you are prepared enough, luck will meet you at the end of the street. Why? Because there's nothing called luck. It's all about being prepared. When the Prophet ﷺ used to go to war, he used to first talk strategy to his generals, then make dua to Allah. This is the Prophet ﷺ. Okay, and when you suffer and when you fail, do not complain. Why? There was a Sahabi much bigger than you called Khabbab bin Arad radiallahu anhu. And he was tortured and tormented by his owner, the lady from Mecca. She would scale his back with an iron comb just for fun. She would mold his head with iron. And one day, when he was tortured so much, he went and complained to the Prophet of Allah ﷺ. And the Prophet got upset and said, "Are you complaining? And there are people before you who were tied to this end and that end and torn while they were alive." This is Khabbab bin Arad who's complaining, and the Prophet ﷺ gets upset. This is the same Khabbab bin Arad many years later when Islam was dominant and Khalifa was Umar bin Khattab radiallahu anhu. And Umar saw him removing his shirt, he started crying because there were scales in his back. So don't complain, my brothers, sisters, don't complain. Failure is not a reason to complain. Failure is a reason to apply one basic Islamic value. You know what it is? Sabr. يا أيها الذين آمنوا استعينوا بالصبر والصلاة فإن الله مع الصابرين. إن الله مع صابرين. Allah is with those who show sabr. Imagine, Allah is with those who show sabr. What are we living in this dunya for? To seek Allah's pleasure? What will the people in Jannah do when they are in Jannah? Wait for the angel's call to do what? Meet Allah. And Allah is telling you, I am with you if you show sabr. What have we done today? Look at us. We are being targeted. Look at us. They're always focusing on us. Look at us. Ibrahim alayhi salam, when he was thrown to fire, the angels, the birds, everybody came to help him. What did he say? Doesn't Allah know? Right? So if you're in trouble, if one akhlaq got killed by people who are tyrants, doesn't Allah know? If 10,000 people got slaughtered last month in Syria, doesn't Allah know? If 100,000 people got slaughtered by Muslims in the Arab world, doesn't Allah know? So stop depressing yourselves by WhatsApp messages. Again. We are not here as an ummah to be depressed. We are here to lead. Depressing people can't lead. Depressing people cannot lead. You lead when you are completely at peace with yourself, that you believe everything is happening by the will of Allah. Allah said it in the Quran, the good comes from me and the bad comes from me. So who are we to challenge? Why? So you need to change that attitude. This goes back to that attitude. Your attitude has to be something that is within the deen. Please, brothers and sisters, I invite all of you to be patient, to show that calm that is required. Because a calm mind can make the right decisions. A mind that is depressed cannot. Your failure in studies, your failure in business, your failure in job, your failure in your relationships is not the end of the world. You know, we all aspire for Jannah, right? We all aspire for Jannah. How many of us are willing to die? How many of us are willing to die? Right, so the US Marines, they have a slogan. They actually say, if you want to go to paradise, die first. So sometimes we are so emotional about objectives that we forget the path. So if you want to be in Jannah, I think you need to show more sabr. Where? Not in your grave. In the dunya. This is all strives and challenges which Allah has promised you. He said you will get them. The Prophet ﷺ suffered with them. Abdurrahman bin Auf, radiallahu anh, one of those who was given Jannah while he was alive, declared. He left from Mecca to Medina while everybody did hijrah, right? What did he go with? Sacks of money? Sacks of gold? Nothing. One day Aisha, she was in her chambers and she found the ground shaking. She tells the slave girls, what's happening? Is it an earthquake? The slave girls said, no, no, these are Abdurrahman bin Auf's camels. They just entered Medina, 1,000 camels, subhanAllah. This is what Tijara can do. He was a very good businessman, by the way. Abdurrahman bin Auf was a very, very good trader. I sincerely invite all of us as companies to consider Tijara. I sincerely invite investors to consider investing in this new Tijara. I sincerely and dearly invite my brothers and sisters to start looking at entrepreneurship as an option. You are living in times where things are much easier for you. When we were young, because I'm part of their age group now, okay, we didn't have this opportunity. You know what is the biggest technology we had? It was called color TV. Right? This was the biggest technology we had, color TV. Look at you. You have mobile technology, you have satellite technology, you have everything with you. So now I show how you're doing it. You need to use all of this available resources to you and create new things. Don't be like the people who keep looking at a lot and just use it without wanting to change it. You look at a problem, look at an existing situation, even if it's not a problem, change it. Maybe our cooking gases need to change. Maybe our washing machine needs to change. Just look at things and change it. Like I said in the start of the discussion, the Maharashtra region has the Konkan region in it, and we are one of the most progressive ones within the Maharashtrian economy. Our GDP is very high. In fact, my district, mine and Asif's actually, Sindhudurg, in the last 10 years has grown by around 250%. 250%. Who sees such growth? We've seen it. But somehow, Konkani Muslims are not within that growth. Okay? There are reasons, there's no need to pick on those reasons. I think there's always enough time to begin. There's always enough time to begin. And there was always the right time to do the right thing. The Muslims didn't plan war to win back Mecca when they left Mecca to Medina, right? They waited for many, many years. In fact, some of the Sahaba were so depressed about leaving their houses that they wrote poetry, that they would miss their houses so much. But when Allah's command came, they came in, they were victorious. And that victory did not end there. After that, we went across the world. And today we are a dominant religion. Remember the Prophet ﷺ told the Sahaba when they asked him, when he said about the doom of our ummah, the Sahaba said, is it because we will be low in number? He said, no. Is it because we are going to be poor? He said, no. So we are going to be more in number and we are going to be very rich. And yet we will be doomed. So we should be cautious of the values we are setting in here today. We should be cautious about how we are going forward. And that's why, again, I repeat myself, sabr, patience. When you have a problem, when you have a challenge, when you have a situation, show sabr, because this is a sign of a believer. Patience is the sign of a believer. And business and entrepreneurship is built around that patience. So may Allah make all of you successful in this dunya and akhirah. May Allah give you families and offspring that are more successful than all of us. May Allah bring all of us together in Jannah on the last day. And may Allah make our pathway to our graves the best one and the most preferred one, inshallah. Ameen. Jazakumullah.